The rain tasted the same. 15 years, and this city hadn't changed the things that mattered. I stepped out of the taxi at 11:47 p.m., shoes finding perches on streets I'd sworn I'd never walk again. The driver didn't ask questions. Smart. In this city, curiosity was reserved for the dead. The skyline still stood where it always had. Towers my grandfather helped raise from nothing. But the names were different now. New money. Dirty money pretending to be clean. My eyes found the old clock tower on 5th and Merchant, bullet holes filled with cheap concrete, the West Wing rebuilt after the fire in 2010, the fire that wasn't an accident. I knew which fire, I knew who lit the match. A couple stumbled past, drunk and oblivious, standing on what used to be Santoro territory, my territory. They had no idea the ground beneath their feet was purchased with blood. I pulled my collar up and started walking. My hand traced the scar on my ribs, a reminder, a promise I'd made while bleeding out in a shipping container, listening to my family die in the rooms above. The neon signs reflected in puddles. I recognized the symbols beneath new paint. The crowned serpent, the 3 stars. They thought they'd erased us. They were wrong. The city had moved on, but my blood hadn't. His name was Victor Rains. Most people never said it out loud. I heard it whispered in my hotel lobby the next morning. Rains approved it personally. 1 sentence. The other man went pale. Conversation over. In 15 years, Rains had become more than a man. He was a force of nature. Stories said he didn't just defeat enemies, he erased them. Families that crossed him simply ceased to exist. Former bosses vanished. Some said cement boots. Others whispered about pig farms upstate. Nobody knew. That was the point. There was a story about Castellano who tried to skim. They found his car at the airport, passport to Sao Paulo in the glove box. But Castellano, never seen again. His wife got monthly cash with no return address. Payment for her silence. Rains hadn't inherited power, he'd taken it. The old families underestimated him. New money, no history, just another ambitious soldier. One by one he dismantled them, took the one thing each family couldn't survive without, then waited for them to collapse. By the time they realized, it was too late. He controlled everything. But I'd noticed something in the timeline. Rains had been nobody, a mid-level enforcer, unremarkable. Then, summer of 2010, everything changed. The same summer my family burned. The same summer I disappeared. In this city, there were no coincidences. I was Marco Santoro, supposed to be dead. 3rd generation, heir to an empire built on loyalty and silence. We weren't the biggest family, but we were the most respected. When others had disputes, they came to us. I was 23 when it happened, young enough to believe in legacy, old enough to know its cost. August 17, 2010. I was supposed to be at the compound for family dinner. Normal, safe. Then a call, a woman's voice. If you value your life, don't go home tonight. I should have warned them, should have called my father. Instead, I hesitated. I was 3 blocks away when I saw the smoke. The gates were open. They were never open. Guards shot from behind, from inside, betrayed. Thomas, my father's oldest friend, grabbed me from the shadows, blood streaming from his temple. They're all dead, everyone. They knew exactly where everyone would be. Who? Run. Tonight, you're nobody. Tomorrow, you're dead. Disappear and stay gone. You're the only one left. Someday that means something, but not tonight. I spent 15 years becoming someone else, learning, waiting, growing cold. They thought they'd erased us, but you can't erase blood. You can only make it wait. I would have stayed gone. I'd built a quiet life in Croatia when nobody asked questions. Until 3 months ago. I was reading the Herald Tribune over coffee. Buried in the business section, Croatian development firm acquires historic properties. The firm was called Adriatic Ventures. I spent 4 days tracing it through shell companies. It ended at Legacy Foundation, owned by Victor Rains. He was buying property in my town, the place I'd chosen because it was far enough away. But he'd found me anyway, or he'd always known. I went home and pulled out my lockbox. 3 passports, 40,000 euros, 1 photograph of my father, and a letter from Thomas I'd never opened. That night, I broke the seal. Marco, if you're reading this, I'm dead. Your father's death wasn't random. It was ordered by someone inside, someone who knew everything. I helped them. God forgive me. I told them when you'd all be together. I opened the gates. They promised to spare you. The man who ordered it was nobody then, a soldier with ambition. His name is Victor Rains. I'm sorry, son. I burned the letter, watched the ashes swirl down the drain. The next morning, I bought a plane ticket. Thomas had included something else, a ledger, original books before the attack, proof of where Rains' seed money really came from, who he betrayed, what he stole. His entire empire built on lies. I wasn't coming back to kill him. I was coming back to destroy everything he'd built. I moved like smoke through the city. Found Joey Fingers in Connecticut running a pizza place. He'd been our accountant, the man who knew where every body was buried. I need to make Victor Rains very nervous, I told him. Over 3 weeks, I reconnected with ghosts. Old-timers pushed aside when Rains took over. Some wouldn't talk, but others had been waiting. I didn't ask for help. I just existed, visibly. Then I started leaking information, small inconsistencies, a customs tip about one of Rains' shipments, documents about suspicious property purchases. I wasn't trying to bring him down. I was testing foundations, finding cracks. 3 of Rains' business partners I found forced out of deals years ago when anonymous packages arrived containing evidence of what Rains really did. They started talking to lawyers. Civil lawsuits, nothing criminal, but enough to make him pay attention. I knew it was working when 3 of his top lieutenants vanished in 1 week. 2 shipments got randomly inspected. A construction project got held up in committee. From my hotel room, I watched it unfold. He was feeling it. Something was wrong. Someone knew his secrets. Late at night, in his penthouse, Victor Rains was feeling something he hadn't felt in 15 years. Uncertainty. Rains called meetings, asked unusual questions. Then 2 of his inner circle died in a car accident. Paranoia setting in. Then someone mentioned the name, a city councilman trying to make small talk. This area used to be Santoro territory. Whatever happened to them? I heard there was a son, Marco, I think. The room went silent. The Santoros are dead, Rains said, his voice flat. All of them. That name doesn't mean anything. But that night he made calls. He pulled the old case file. The Santoro fire. 8 bodies recovered, everyone accounted for. Except one, Marco Santoro, age 23, status missing, presumed dead. Presumed. He sent investigators, started pulling records, looking for ghosts. Then another name, Tomas D'Angelo, died 2018, natural causes. But Tomas had lived 8 years after the fire. What if he'd passed something on before he died? That's when Rains understood. Someone had come back, someone with specific knowledge, the kind that only belonged to a dead man. I let him wander 2 more weeks. Then I went to Giordano's. Ground. The one place in the city where business happened without violence, because violence at Giordano's meant you'd never do business again. My father had taken me there for my 16th birthday. Rains ate there every Tuesday. Same table, same meal. I arrived at 8:30. The maitre d' looked at me with sharp eyes. Name for the reservation? Santoro. His hand hesitated on the ledger. Just a moment. Right, this way, Mr. Santoro. He led me to the table next to where Victor Rains sat with 2 lieutenants. And Rains looked up. He knew, instantly, the bones were the same. The eyes, genetic memory runs deep. His face went very still, alert, every muscle tensed. I ordered the veal, my father's dish, didn't look at Rains, just sat there, acting like I belonged. His lieutenants started to rise. Rains stopped them with a gesture. He understood. Not here, not with witnesses and rules and history watching. I ate slowly, savored every bite. 20 minutes later, a waiter placed a drink in front of me. Compliments of Mr. Rains. Macallan 18, my father's drink. Message received. I raised the glass towards his table, a toast to ghosts, then drank it down and stood to leave. As I passed his table, I paused, close enough to speak softly. You've done well with what you stole. His jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. But we'll discuss it properly, soon. I left feeling his eyes on my back every step. By morning, everyone knew. The Santoro heir was alive. He'd sat down next to Victor Haynes and drank his whiskey without flinching. The underworld reacted with fear and calculation. Old alliances stirred. What if Rains could be challenged? I didn't ask anyone for help. I just existed, a ghost made flesh. And deaths 15 years old started to wake up. The message came through Angela Fiore, my father's lawyer. He wants to meet, tomorrow night, midnight, Pier 7. The old warehouse where my father used to conduct business. Where Rains now ran his shipping operation. He's going to kill you, Angela said. Maybe, but he'll have to look me in the eye when he does it. I spent the day visiting graves, 8 headstones overlooking the water. I touched my father's stone once. I'm going to finish it tonight, one way or another. Pier 7 looked different at night, modernized, legal, but the bones were the same. I arrived at 11:50. The main doors were open, light spilling out. Inside the warehouse had been gutted and rebuilt, except for the center, where someone had cleared a space. 2 chairs, 10 feet apart. Rains was already there, hands in pockets, looking relaxed. Marco Santoro, back from the dead. I was never dead, you just wanted me to be. I was told you were, big difference. Told by whom? Tomas. Tomas was a sentimental fool. He couldn't do what needed to be done. So you did it for him. I did what this city needed. Your father's time was over. The old ways were dying. Someone had to change with it. No hesitation, no remorse. I gave the order. Your father, your uncles, they would have fought. I made it clean. My mother, my sister? Collateral. Unfortunate but necessary. They were innocent. No one in this family is innocent. We sat. 2 men connected by blood and betrayal. Why did you let me live? Tomas made me promise, said you were just a kid, made me swear that if he helped, you'd walk away clean. Until you came back. Until you started disrupting my operations. That breaks the agreement. I reached into my jacket. Every shadow moved. Red dots blossomed on my chest. I pulled out an envelope, slowly. Call them off. Rains gestured. The dots disappeared. I tossed it at his feet. Open it. He read. I watched his face as 15 years of construction started to crumble. Where did you get this? Thomas. He kept records. Everything you did, everyone you betrayed, every dollar you stole from my father before you burned us down. Proof that Victor Rains hadn't risen from nothing. He'd risen from theft. This proves nothing. It proves you're a liar, that your whole legend is bullshit. Who's going to believe? Everyone. Copies went to every family you've squeezed, every partner you've betrayed. They're reading them right now. He checked his phone. Messages flooding in, questions, demands, angry texts. You've destroyed nothing. I still control. But loyalty changes, fear changes, respect changes. I stood. You know what this city values? The code. You can be brutal, but you can't be a thief who pretends to be a king. I earned this. You stole it, and now everyone knows. Silence stretched between us. So what now? Rains asked. You've humiliated me. You think I'm just going to walk away? I think you're going to make a choice. You can kill me, but those documents don't go away. People don't forget. You think you're taking over? I don't want your empire. His face showed surprise. I don't want to rule. I spent 15 years being nobody. I liked it. I liked being free. Then what do you want? I want you to remember. Every night, I want you to know your empire is built on graves of people who trusted you. I want you to wonder if today is the day someone does to you what you did to us. That's it? Philosophy? I want you to answer one question. Did my father know before that night? Rain stopped. Then, yes. The word hit like a bullet. He knew I was consolidating power, called me to his office 2 weeks before, asked me point blank if I was planning something. I told him the truth, that the old ways were dying. Rain's voice was steady. You know what he said? If you're going to do this, Victor, do it right. Don't leave loose ends. Then he poured us drinks and toasted to the future. You're lying. I'm not. He could have killed me that day, but he didn't. He was tired. Tired of the game, tired of knowing someone would eventually come for him. He didn't fight because part of him was ready. I wanted to call him a liar, but I knew my father, knew the weight he carried. He asked one favor. He said, my son has nothing to do with this. Give him a chance to be something else. So you had Thomas get me out. Your father gave you the gift of escape. He died so you could live free, and you threw it away by coming back. He underestimated one thing, I said, love. He thought I'd forget, but he gave me a family, a name, and you took it. I took nothing that wasn't already dying. You took everything that mattered. So what now? You want an apology? I want you to live with it every day. I want you to remember you could have been legitimate, but instead you built it on lies and bodies. I turned to leave. Marco, you think you're better than me? You're a Santoro. That blood doesn't wash off. Your father built his empire the same way. Maybe, but he never pretended to be anything else. And you think that matters? I think it's the only thing that matters. I walked to the door, guns tracking me, waiting for the order. It didn't come. I looked back one last time. Marco, you won, Victor. You have everything. I hope it keeps you warm at night. Then I stepped into darkness and disappeared. Behind me, silence. I'd done what I came to do. Not revenge, not justice. Something worse. I'd made him doubt. 3 months later, I sat in a cafe in Lisbon reading the newspaper. Page 7, shipping magnate Victor Rains faces federal investigation. Tax irregularities, suspicious transactions. Nothing that would stick probably. But it was there, in print, the cracks showing. My phone buzzed. Joey, 3 more families broke with Rains this week. Old alliances fracturing. I didn't respond. The work was done. I'd planted a seed of doubt, shown the city their king was mortal, his crown was stolen. What they did with that was up to them. The empire would crack, slowly, inevitably. And Rains would spend the rest of his life fighting to hold it together, never certain who to trust, never sleeping soundly. That was my revenge, not his death, his doubt. I thought about my father, about the freedom he'd bought me with his life. Part of me was angry he'd given up, but another part understood. There was peace in letting go, in choosing when your story ended. My father made his choice, Rains made his. Now I'd made mine. I finished my coffee and walked towards the waterfront. The sun was setting, fishermen bringing in boats, children playing, life happening, indifferent to games powerful men played in shadows. I could stay here, build a new life, or return, not to fight, not to rule, but to exist, to remind everyone the Santoro name hadn't died in that fire, that some ghosts don't rest, that some deaths never expire. I hadn't decided yet, but I had time. Behind me, in a city I used to call home, Victor Rains sat in his penthouse, the lights of his empire spread below him, everything he'd ever wanted, everything he'd ever stolen. And in quiet moments, when business was done and he was alone, I knew what he wondered. Where I was, what I was planning, whether I'd come back. The not knowing was the point. Let him build higher walls, let him increase security, let him suspect everyone and trust no one. Let him live the way my family died, never certain when the end would come. I walked along the waterfront as the sun disappeared, and I smiled. The city had moved on. Rains ruled it absolutely. But late at night, he knew the truth. His empire was built on sand, and the tide was always coming in.